Welcome to the Nourishment Mindset Podcast, your guide to good food, good health, and a good life. And now, here's your host, Nutrition Network advisor and author of the Nourishment Mindset, Dixie Huey.
Happy Transformation Tuesday, y'all. Welcome to or back to the Nourishment Mindset Podcast, where we are on a metabolic mission to help you achieve vitality and reverse chronic lifestyle conditions using real whole food, straight talk, and the pleasures of the table. My name is Dixie Huey, and I am your host. I am also a metabolic health and fitness coach with my practice, Favor Fat, which you can find at favorfat.com, favorfat.com. I am available to do complimentary 15-minute consults to see if we're a fit. So if you have a health question or you're considering working with someone to improve your metabolic health and fitness, find me there and we will find a time that works for you. I am also the author of the book, The Nourishment Mindset, which is all about real whole foods, sassy straight talk, and of course, the pleasures of the table, something I learned dining with farmers, chefs, and winemakers around the world. And to me, it's the missing piece of the metabolic puzzle. Plenty of health books talk about macros and working out and all the other aspects of health, sunlight, sleep. But how many health books talk about enjoying your time, nourishing yourself at the table? That's where my book is different. So if you haven't bought it, please hop on over to Amazon or my site, favorfat.com. And if you have bought it, please take a moment to give me a review. If you give me a review on either Amazon for reading the book or one of the many podcast platforms, I will gift you with a complimentary 30-minute health coaching discussion of the topic your choice. All you need to do is let me know you left the review. And it doesn't even have to be 5 stars. I have to earn that. So today's super fit guest is a fellow trainer and health coach. He's not a total meathead, though. We're going to talk about that. I know y'all think that everyone who's a trainer is a meathead, but it's just not true. He's actually quite passionate about golf, which is a gentleman's sport. And he's an author of 2 books. 1, The Stepladder System, and 2, a children's book, The Magic Zoo. So again, not a meathead. Welcome, Brian Gryn.
Thanks for having me on, Dixie.
Now, you are very strong and lean, so you might look like a meathead, but anyone who's authored a children's book, so I got to tell you, I interview authors all the time, but I've never interviewed a children's book author.
Oh.
So I want to know, what's like a drop and give me 20 kind of dude doing authoring a children's book?
Well, I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and they inspired me to write the book. And this was, it's been probably 7 years now, 6 years ago. And I just thought it would be cute to I've talked about health in the context of adults for so long, and I just felt like kids are like sponges. They just absorb everything. And I thought it'd be cute to do a sort of a fun health book around kids and eating and activity. And I made my nieces and nephews as characters in the book.
Oh.
So yeah, they really liked that. I mean, when it first came out, it was fun because I probably did like a year straight of like going to elementary schools and reading. And I went to theirs and it got written up in the paper. It was really like a fun, like sort of thing to do. If you ever want to just feel like you're like a star, just write a kid's book and then go to elementary schools, because you're like signing autographs and doing all this stuff. And it was fun. Yeah. So
I love it. You're like one step removed from Santa.
Exactly. I felt like an NBA star for like a year, maybe 6 months.
That's great. And I totally agree with bringing that message to children. I love, I work with adults when it comes to health and fitness, but I love hearing clients say, well, you know what, this whole process has made me think about the way I feed my kids, because now it's this like generational transfer of health and knowledge. Do you ever hear that in your practice?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I just got off a call, just a 15-minute consult call. And at the end, she mentioned she has a son that's like 32 years old that's looking for help. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, if you can affect and help the parent, it can only that much help the kid as well. So
Awesome. Well, let's move on to serious topics like golf. So the only rule in my house, the only mandate we have regarding golf is that you come home in a good mood, regardless of the round, because you've just escaped for 5 to 6 hours. So I want to know, we were speaking about kids and kids book. Did you pick this up as a kid? Is this a lifelong passion?
yeah, I've been playing golf since, I mean, I was like probably 11 or 12. Nowadays, kids start when they're like 4, but I picked it up probably when I was 12 years old, and yeah, I loved it. Got into it into high school and played a little bit in college, and now I coach a high school team in the area, which is fun. It's just a couple months out of the year, but I really enjoy working with the kids through that. And yeah, I keep working on my game and playing some events here and there, but yeah, it's been a huge part of my life, and yeah, I don't know what I would do without golf, honestly.
What's your favorite aspect of it?
Oh, I think the fact that like you, I mean, it's like this, you can never perfect it, obviously. And it's just something that, it just drives you to get better and to improve. That's what really drives me. Some people play for fun, and I play with my friends for fun, but I really enjoy playing tournaments and staying competitive. And I think it's just a good release that way. And obviously being outside and being with friends is fun as well. So
I love it. I haven't played much golf. I'm very on again, mostly off again, but I remember giving some unsolicited advice to my husband saying, I've been thinking about this game of golf, and I'm really into flow. Like, have you heard of Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi and his concept of flow?
No.
He's got 2 great books, and I haven't mentioned this on this podcast. So there's flow, and then there's flow in sports. But this is basically the psychology of optimal experience.
I love that stuff.
Right. Like I'm sure you're in flow when you're, competing, maybe not every time. But I said to my husband, when I think about you playing golf and like you drive to the ball and then you're out and then you're hitting and then you're back in the cart, I'm like, why don't have you ever considered just walking the course, and then you're not having this get in, get out, get in. And he actually agreed that yes, it helps his flow to walk. And to me, it just makes so much sense to not have this sort of third party vehicle thing. So do you tend to walk or cart or both?
Yeah, I prefer to walk, and I agree. I think for me, like, it's just easier to sort of like stay in rhythm. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's like I don't want to like sit, get up. I don't necessarily think that's great for like my back and things like that. I mean, there are times I take a cart, especially if we're just like trying to play fast. But if I'm playing in the morning, I would much prefer to walk.
All right, but you're not doing the thing where you jog from hole to hole.
Oh no! Although a buddy of mine, Brad Kearns, who introduced me to podcasting, he actually it got broken, but he set the world record for the fastest hole ever played. So
that's rad.
So that book that you mentioned,
yes.
What's the author again?
Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. And no, I cannot spell it.
You did pronounce. Yeah, do not try to spell that. But I just found it. Okay, just looking. I like that.
It's an oldie but goodie. That's from my maybe senior year in college. So we're talking 23, 24 years ago. But quite nice. Maybe he's written more. But just the concept of flow. We're not going to get flow in every activity we pursue. I personally have had flow in dance, in running, even in speaking French. But there are other things, I don't have flow when I'm lifting weights. Like, it's just hard. I do not believe you were born as a health coach. I read that you were in finance. So tell us about that transformation. How did you bridge over, or did something happen where you woke up miserable?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say this. I was in finance, but not really in it. I did it because going to school, not knowing what I wanted to do. I studied finance. So right out of school, that's what I got into. And, I mean, it wasn't a big interest of mine, but it was just something that I thought was an ends to a mean. And, I've always been into health and wellness. I started lifting when I was in high school, which I always encourage. I have a lot of high school athletes. I always encourage them to get into that, because you can just set those early just habits of lifting, and that can last your whole life. So yeah, I was in finance, but I wasn't per se. I did it because, I thought I could make money. I don't think people think initially I didn't think I was going to get into health and wellness and make a living from it, but it's just something that I was so passionate about that it just kept drawing me back. So I don't have such elaborate stories, but you mentioned in some of your questions, do I hate sitting all day? And I do hate sitting all day. I'm actually kneeling right now. I don't actually sit much anymore. So
Wow.
yeah,
Are
I'm
you on a
kneeling.
yoga mat or a special
Yeah, well,
kneeling
it's like
chair?
a pad like this thick, so I'm fine. I've gotten used to it. So I'm kneeling. So my hips are in extension, not flexion all day. So
Well, that sounds also very Zen, Buddhist.
yeah. Yeah. But I do not like to sit all day. I think I remember times when I was in the corporate world that I would like leave in the middle of the day, and like there's times where I played early morning golf and then showed up after that. So anyways, I probably wasn't the greatest employee, but either way.
Well, hey, you showed up. Now, was it tough to make the transition? Did you have to leave the security of a salary to go off on your own, or did you do something in between finance and having your own practice?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with a good friend of mine owned a studio. So initially I worked under him, and it was just me, him, and like one or two other trainers. So we had a small studio, and that was fun, doing group training and working with individuals. So that was sort of my step ladder to now obviously just working by myself. But so it took some time to get to that point, but it was a great experience.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I applaud any and all entrepreneur. It's not necessarily an easy path, but it's a wild one. So you said the word step ladder, so I'm just going to use that to get into, you have a system, I believe, that's called step ladder. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So the step ladder system book, which essentially I finished not that long ago, just a few months back. It's just based around a 6-month program that I work with my clients on. I felt like I put together a system, and I was like, why not just put it into a book format for people who maybe, they don't want or maybe can't afford having one-on-one coaching. So it's in paperback on Amazon. There it is. And it's also in a PDF format if people want to, some people like to digest their materials or digest their knowledge different ways. So I would call it more like a workbook. You should fill it out from start to end, because it's just a way to hold you accountable and take you sort of through the 6 steps that I take my clients through.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any mention, do you mention the 6 steps, or does one need to buy the book or PDF? Intimately familiar with these 6 steps.
No, the 6 steps I can touch on them briefly. The first part is creating clarity, and that's mainly just trying to figure out like the whole reason why you're here, getting crystal clear on that. And then from there, it's just about creating some small wins and identifying maybe 1 to 3 habits that will make the biggest impact right off the bat. After that, we get into activity upgrade. So that could be just finding out what your routine is like, if there is any, and then trying to sort of turn it into something that's doable and consistent. And I talk a lot about micro workouts and these things that can be done in 20 minutes as opposed to an hour and a half in the gym. And I think a lot of busy professionals find value in that. And then we get into sleep, which is really important. And I call it like my sleep like a superhero. And that's just basing, trying to figure out what's like a simple, manageable routine that they could follow at night to help them get better sleep. Then we go into stress management, which is huge. And so we just, again, put a practice in place that will help downregulate the system and just get you ready for, any activities that you're doing outside of work and things like that. So, I've always been a fan of yoga. That's not for everybody, but some type of practice that can, help you manage stress. And that could be 5-minute meditation, doesn't have to be long. But we get into that. And then nutrition and meal timing is like sort of the last key to the puzzle. So
I love it. And it's really cool that nutrition and meal timing and meals are the end, because to me that highlights, sleep. If I have a poor night's sleep, I'm kind of wrecked for the day. I mean, maybe one day, but you get a few of those in a row. And
right.
we both know that elevates your glucose, but cravings begin. I mean, sleep is so undervalued in our culture. Do you find a lot of people just chronically undersleeping?
Yeah, for sure. Either that or they're just like not getting good quality sleep. And it just becomes like the norm. They're just like used to that and they don't really try to address it. And it could be simple things like sleeping in a cooler environment, or we're doing some type of blackout shades or something like that can really sort of take your sleep to the next level. So
I love that. Some just practical things. It's not like you have to meditate on one foot for 20 minutes and one nostril open. It's just like blackout shades. A big one is, of course, de-screening.
Yeah.
Or at least blue blocking.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Well, I love it, y'all. The step ladder system. This is an active book. You're actually going to use energy because you're going to be filling it in. You're not just perusing it on the beach. You got to do a little work in this book, which is great because that's, putting the pen to the paper and figuring it out. That sounds awesome. So in your practice, I understand that you focus mostly on sort of helping middle-aged men. Are these the typical sort of, I'm super busy executive, I used to be fit, I worked and sat. We were talking about sitting for 20 years and then I woke up fat and out of shape, or what are you seeing?
So your question is, who's it geared towards?
Yes.
Okay.
And who's it geared towards? And, are these what I think of? I mean, sometimes middle age just literally creeps up on you. It's like, well, back in my day, I was a competitive triathlete. Now it's like, well, what's going on 20 years later?
Yeah. A lot of times what I see happens with individuals is as they get older, they stop prioritizing their health because of other things. And, I shouldn't say for good reason, but obviously with kids and job requirements and things like that. But you should never deprioritize your health. And I think who this book is geared towards it could be anyone in their middle age. Honestly, like most of my clients in the book might be geared a little bit more towards men, but honestly, I have women who buy this book and enjoy, or the workshop and enjoy, the workbook and enjoy filling it out and getting results that way. So I just think it's for like 40-plus-year-old individuals who maybe feel like they've just taken a step back, or they're sort of stagnant in where they are in their health goals, and they want to sort of bring it back to the limelight and start focusing on their health, not only for themselves, but also for their family, and also to lead by example for their kids. So.
Yes. And this concept of micro workout, I love that, because I think a big barrier is this idea that I have to go to the gym for an hour, hour and a half. And if you've got kids and they've got sports, they're on your golf team, you got to get dinner ready. Like it's not going to happen. So do you have some examples of micro workouts, or even just one example of what that kind of thing looks like? You said about 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, a micro workout can consist of a few different things. I mean, there's different platforms now that you can use. Like, for example, I've had him on my podcast, but Dr. Jaquish developed something called the X3 bar. And that's there's like 5 resistant bands, a sort of a smaller Olympic bar, and a ground plate. And you can pretty much do all your pushing and pulling and lower body work done on this platform. So that's an example of something that can be done really efficiently and quickly in the middle of your day, 10, 20 minutes. So that's an example. You can also just use body weight and do body weight exercises You could do that in your basement or wherever. But micro workouts can come in all different forms and time limits per se. Like, I mean, there's times where if I'm running short on time, I mean, I could just do like a walking lunge, like down the hallway, and that could be a micro workout. So I think it's the basis around just like getting up and doing something. It doesn't have to be some big structured workout where you go to the gym for an hour and a half. It could just literally be, I know Brad Kearns, my podcast buddy, he always talks about how he just has like this pull-up bar by his office, and he'll just do a few pull-ups when he goes past it. And by the time he knows, at the end of the day, he's probably gotten in, let's just say 20 pull-ups, and that was his workout, and didn't take much time at all.
That's awesome. No going through this door unless I've done some pull-ups bar. That's great.
Yeah.
Love it. But just working it into the day, that's the thing. Because the other question I'll get is like, well, does that even count if I take a 10-minute walk? And it's like, absolutely it counts. It's going to lower your glucose. It's going to improve your mood, your sleep. Like,
oh, I mean, walking, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, I think everyone should be walking at least once a day. If it has to be on a treadmill, that's fine. If you could get outside, that's even better. So we're having beautiful weather here up at north of Chicago, and this is a great time. I mean, I have 2 dogs. We walk no matter the temperature. I think we had like this, what they call it when it was like that super cold front that came through. They called it something, and I remember taking my dog out. We didn't go far, but no matter the weather, we're out there, and I think that's the beauty of having a dog. But you could also find a partner or someone or a friend to go with you as well.
love it. Yes, and we're both into our dogs.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
All right. So I love that you're not a Kaiko or calories in, calories out dude, fanatic, I guess is what I would say. There's a lot of those. You're also espousing the power of real whole foods. How do you personalize your approach to your clients who maybe grew up in calorie prison and maybe you're even afraid of fat, dietary fat? How do you get them on board with real food?
With real, yeah. Well, as far as calories in, calories out, do I think they play a role? I do think they play a role, but it's, health is more nuanced than just that, right? But I think it's important initially for clients to get a baseline of how much and what they're consuming on a daily basis. They don't have to track all the time, but just initially, maybe that first week, get a feel for how much they're consuming. Because some people are not consuming enough, and some people are restricting too much. So getting a baseline for that, and then sort of, figuring out what would work best for them in their lifestyle and what they've done in the past. But, obviously, more importantly, quality of food is something that I try to strive for, because I feel like if you're eating foods that are quality and nutrient dense, you're going to be satisfied. And, we talked about this when you came on my podcast, and, this is something that's going to help you get through the day and probably just avoid snacking and things like that. So they both play a role, food quality and calories, but, it's not like a one size fits all thing. And, health is more nuanced than just calories in, calories out.
Good point. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, have you ever faced a metabolic health struggle, or are you one of these unicorn fitness freaks?
Well, I mean, I've never had, I would say I've never had like huge weight issues growing up. I think it's something that maybe that's the fact that, my parents were pretty big into health, and they got me started early on. So I don't have some like elaborate health story. I've been pretty fortunate from that end. I've dealt with little injuries here and there from just daily lifting and things like that. And right now I'm going through a little bit of a shoulder discomfort thing, but it's actually gotten a lot better, and I've been doing rehab on that. But I don't have, any huge like weight loss story for you, but metabolically I've been pretty healthy. And now, now that I'm deep into the health game, it's something I'm always looking to optimize. But I will say that it's easy to get caught up in the nuance of everything that's being talked about out there on the YouTube and all these different, Instagram and TikTok and all these channels where they talk and they think like find every little health hack in the world. I think if you just stick to the basics, and that's sort of why I wrote the book, is I just felt like, just having a podcast and interviewing all these different people, that there's just so many different voices. It can be very confusing. And I think if you just stick with the basics, I think 99% of the people will find they'll get results and optimize their health. So.
Well, that's great advice. Once it becomes so overwhelming that I can't do everything perfectly, then I think a lot of people just want to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that, especially for those who have children, as you've talked about before in this episode, like getting started younger, the fact that your parents were into health, that's a tremendous gift to you. So I'm going to remind my kid of that, even though he doesn't always like having a health coach mom. It is important to teach that, to make habits. It's important for me, for my son, to see my husband and I prioritizing our health, and also just the habit. It's like boring. It's not boring for us, but it might seem boring, like get up, work out, meditate, whatever it is. It's just how we live, and maybe if we're on vacation, there's a couple days where we don't really have that exact pattern, but never for very long, because it's frankly, as you just feel better when you do your thing. So on that note, I'm curious, what is, if you've got a day to yourself, what is sort of your just favorite health pattern?
Like a typical day?
Right.
Well, okay. So, morning walk with the dogs right off the bat, probably around 6:30. Come back, 10-minute meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I am, and I was learning guitar, and I used to play a little bit in the morning. I've taken a little bit. Yeah, I've taken a little bit of break. I'm not so good, but I'm going to start up with lessons in the next month. So I'll get back into it. But so walk, come back, meditation. Usually just have some tea in the morning. And then I do write in my journal for like a few minutes. It's more like a gratitude journal. And then I'll get into the day, and usually have either interview or have a few interviews in the morning, and then I try to do a lot of my work in the morning, honestly. Like once it gets past a certain time, I'm like done. So I try to get all my mind work, or if I'm going to write a blog or do interviews, I try to do that in the morning. And once halfway through the day, I like to break the day up by a workout. So I'll do a midday workout.
Wondering, when's the workout coming?
I was trying to keep you in suspense a little bit.
I was.
So yeah, I've done it all. I mean, there are days where like I'm like, especially on the weekend, if I'm like, I just want to get up and do a workout, I'll just get up and do a workout. But I noticed that when I do work, I'm better in the morning. So I don't mind doing a midday workout. And I'll do, like, after this interview, I'll probably go do a workout and then come back. I'm sorry, I didn't even explain. I do have a small meal, probably about 9-10 o'clock, maybe fruit and yogurt and stuff. And then after my workout, I'll probably have my second meal, maybe around 2 o'clock ish, 1:30. And then in the afternoon, I mean, I'm coaching golf now. So my afternoons are coaching the team. I'll do a little bit more work, and then, yeah, my wife and I usually eat at like 5:30. We're like early bird specials, like senior citizens. So we eat around 5:30, 5:36, and then maybe do one. I go on typically 3 walks with my dog. So I forgot that. So middle walk of the day, and then we walk after dinner. And then just wind down and maybe do some work after. But then I usually shut things down at least an hour or two before bed.
I love that. That's quite a nice day. And you're also prioritizing. I heard several things of prioritizing you in the morning, because I find that if I don't do my meditation, my yoga, my physical therapy exercises first thing, It just doesn't get done. I've tried to work them in before school pickup or some other place, and it's either first thing or not happening. So it's a good reminder to prioritize you first. Maybe even if it means, in my case, it means waking up before I frankly want to be awake, but at least it gets it done.
I mean, I will say we do not have kids right now, so we have that luxury. I mean, when we do, it's going to be my routine will be a little bit different, but for right now, that's where I'm at.
You will get used to what you called a micro workout.
Yes,
you will be living the micro workout.
I will be living
the micro journal. The journal is going to turn into word of the day, I think, and the gratitude is going to be like, the kids slept most of the night last night. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know things will change. I know that.
Well, and that's okay. We don't all have to be our best selves all the time, especially not with young children.
Yeah, right.
I mean, between your book and your nieces and nephews and the coaching, like, I think it's just great. You give so much of yourself to kids in the spirit of helping them get good habits early, like your parents did for your family. That's awesome, Brian.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great. So what has been the most challenging thing, or maybe the most surprising thing about hosting your Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast? Did you set up to do a podcast? Did someone tell you to do it? Like, what's that journey been like?
Yeah, the journey's been great. I mean, the most challenging and surprising thing. I mean, I think I love the fact that I've met a lot of great people like yourself. It's fun to just sort of network and just build your, there's one thing of building your network, but when you're building your network with people who are like-minded, I think that goes a long way, and people that you connect with on a different level. So it's been great from that standpoint. I've made some, new friends and things like that. But I think that, maybe the most surprising thing is the fact that, everyone's got something to say, and there's a lot of different opinions, and it can be confusing for a lot of people too, right? Yeah. I think sometimes as a podcast host, it can be confusing. Oh, now my dog is starting to, he's like, he wants to chime in, but it's been great. I mean, I think I recently had a debate on there with a carnivore and another individual who's from another space. So I think it's healthy to have these discussions. It doesn't mean that one person's right or one person's wrong per se, but I enjoy that, and just getting different people on the podcast and learning about, what they think is optimal. So,
well, and it's a great reminder that people are different. Shocker, but what works for A does not necessarily work for B. And the other thing I think that's been most surprising for me in this space is that what can work for, say, me for a number of years, all of a sudden doesn't necessarily work so well anymore, because we go, any human being is going through different stages of development. And the biggies with, women are, of course, the childbearing years. That's a roller coaster. And then the menopause years. And it's like, you think you got everything figured out, and then wham, you got to play. One of my best friends who's an OB/GYN says, well, you were playing checkers, and now you're going to have to upgrade to chess. This is just a different game, and what worked may not work. And it's like, okay, so she recommends self-grace and humility. You mentioned gratitude, but grace and humility.
Let me tell you, women have it a lot harder than men. I'm just going to throw that out there. So it's either our big excuse or it's true, or both. I don't know. I'm curious, where should people find you if they want more? You mentioned the stepladder system being on Amazon, and also that you have a PDF. Where do we learn more online, socially? Yeah, briangryn.com is the best place. You can go on there and find everything you would need. And stepladdersystem.com is on there, but you could also go to stepladdersystem.com.
Oh, great.
But Brian Gryn's definitely like the hub of everything.
Excellent. And y'all, Brian Gryn if you're watching YouTube, I got a big old grin, is Gryn. It's not spelled like the big smile. So that's important, but I bet you can find them anyway with stepladder system. So in closing, I am curious if you and either your family of origin, that healthy household you grew up in, or if you and your wife have a favorite tableside tradition. And what I mean by that is, in my house, it's the nightly cheers. It might be someone's Thanksgiving thing. I've had the great Ben Azadi tell me about a dish that his Persian mom makes for him. Is there anything that just brings you joy at the table?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I guess we're very blessed. We cook a lot of our meals, right? So, I mean, every meal we always joke because we prioritize protein and have some type of quality meat or fish. And I've been getting sushi grade fish from a company, and I had them on my podcast from Seatopia. The name of the company is called Seatopia. I'll give them a shout out. And yeah, they make really quality. Once you, I feel like once you start cooking for yourself, and then you go to restaurants, it's just not the same. And so I don't know. We always joke, but we're very blessed and to have these like 5-course meals every night. So
yes, I love a 5-course meal. So are y'all cooking together?
Well, it's more like 2 courses, but
is there one chef?
I should say 5-star. I probably meant to say that. Yeah, not 5 courses. Take that back. Okay.
Well, it can be done. Our French friends do it every Sunday. So, and is one of you the main chef? Are y'all doing this together?
Yeah, I mean, I usually grill, and she'll do like the side dish, but she's good. She can make like a lot of things, and she makes me like this. I do splurge from time to time. She makes me like this peanut butter chocolate pie.
Oh, wow.
It's great. And it's all like homemade, good ingredients for the most part when you're talking about a pie, and so she only on special occasions.
Okay, y'all. So you just heard it. Brian Gryn does not just eat Seatopia sushi grade fish and beef and salad. Occasionally,
No.
he has a homemade dessert, and
yeah,
that's pretty joyous to me. If you're going to have dessert, make it as high quality ingredients as possible and just enjoy it, right? Don't beat yourself up over it. There's a reason God put these ingredients on the planet. We're supposed to enjoy them, just not all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, it's so fun to have you on the Nourishment Mindset. It was a real honor to be on your Get Lean, Eat Clean. And I thank you for your time and for these great messages that you have shared with my listeners and viewers. So, Santé, y'all. I hope everyone has a great couple of Tuesdays, and we'll see you next time.